Wow, Pat really slow rolling us. I asked him, is the new puppy going to make an appearance? And he's like, oh, he's in the other room. Little did I know, was this all part of your master plan?
Yeah, I see how Jack does it on Club Top Shot. You can't just show up backstage with the puppy. You gotta bring the puppy in on the music. So
let's get the puppy full screen here. I mean, tell us what's the name? What's the backstory?
The name's Murphy. He's an Irish doodle. We got him on Saturday. He's super sweet. He's like becoming slightly more mischievous by the day. He really wants to eat my slippers, but he's like weirdly well behaved overall. He pawed at the back door like an hour ago because he had to poop. We've had him for like 3 days.
Wow.
He's already like training himself.
So no accidents inside yet?
He's had one accident, but it was inside his pen area and it was like on this like blanket that we put out. So it was like no cleanup.
And is that door right there like directly to an outdoor area?
Yes, that's to a backyard. Yeah. So it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. But yeah, this is the little dude.
Love it.
Pat is so stoked right now.
Look at that. How much?
Awesome.
It's gonna be so. We gotta clip together this with the successive weeks as like he's keeping it up all night and like that's pulling his hair out in like a month. He's like
Well, I'm already not drinking tonight because he has been screwing up my sleep. But we've been kind of trading off like on duty nights. So last night I wasn't on duty. I had like a really good night's sleep. So that's partially also why I love him right now because I'm heading into my bad night.
That's funny. Yeah. And is Brittany loving it too?
Brittany's loving it. She's been doing lots of training. She took the week off, so she's been getting lots of good training in.
I've only had one dog. It was when I was like 11 or 12 years old, but I was highly motivated. I spent the entire summer training it. And I think the one thing I always tell people, I'm like, just a lot of people I feel like don't like being a bad guy, with their puppy and training. It's like, and you see so many bad dogs that like grow up that, I mean, they're still good dogs, but they're bad dogs. And it's just like, put in the work to train it now and you will be very, very happy.
Yeah. We've been enjoying the training. He's pretty food motivated. So you can just like kind of give him treat. Like we didn't want him to be scared by the vacuum cleaner. So we put treats on the vacuum cleaner. And now he likes the vacuum cleaner a little bit too much, but he's certainly not afraid of it.
That's hilarious. My dog was always spooked by the vacuum cleaner. I never even thought of that trick as an 11-year-old.
We just like, I use the food processor. I gave him treats while I used the food processor. Literally everything. I'm just like, here's food. Here's some food.
There you go. Ben, do you have a dog?
Nope. No, I didn't. We had a couple Chihuahuas when I was like in high school. I was already kind of past the age and then moved out and my parents kept them, but I never had a dog growing up and haven't had one as an adult. My kids are starting to get to the age where they want to get one. So
I was going to say, I'm sure they're starting to pepper you.
They're starting to. And mom would do a dog for sure. She had them growing up. So I'm kind of the one holding out and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be the one cleaning up after it.
My parents were so cruel. They gave us an ultimatum because the two things we wanted around that age were we wanted a dog and I wanted cable television. Everyone else had cable except us. And they go, you can have one or the other. And we're like, fuck it, we'll do the dog. I'll go over to grandma's to watch the dunk contest, which was a thing I used to do. So yeah, we're back. How was I didn't get a chance to watch the draft. Was it a fun time last week?
Yeah, we had a great time. We had a good time. So you just saw the thumbnail, slammed my ability to do YouTube thumbnails, and didn't even watch the episode?
I was like, I can't watch this full draft.
I didn't watch it either. I'm not gonna lie.
Come on, guys.
Hey, I treat it like one of Gretchen's Omnifantasy Substack articles.
It feels like when I wrote up our draft, a little bit like that. Who'd you take?
Yeah, who'd you take? I saw one comment. I read the comment. Someone said, he said, this was a really fun draft. Seems like you had a good plan, and then it started.
Yeah, that is what happened because I hadn't done an underdog draft yet. I also, Pete, did make me gain some respect for your on-stream drafting abilities because it's harder than it looks when you have to draft and talk, and then you're on the clock, and then you're firing off these picks. The underdog drafts are quick.
They are.
So, yeah.
And now throwing a randomizer, telling you that the countdown and the chat yelling at you. It's stressful, man.
Yeah. And I don't know if it was my internet or what, but like it would say whenever it said I had like 8 seconds, then it would auto pick for me. So I just like had to get used to like having less time than it said I had.
Yeah.
But
what was the structure? Did you guys take a very hardline, dogmatic structural approach?
The structure was kind of a version of Hyperfragile.
Yeah.
And we wanted to go 2 tight end, 2 quarterback, but I think we ended up with 3 quarterbacks. It feels like, I mean, you want to talk about Top Shot time, like Top Shot time while you're still doing Top Shot, getting a puppy. Leone today goes, when was that draft? Was that 2 weeks ago? Do we have to do another episode this week? Like, nah, man, it's just a week ago.
Everyone's just in a fog. How is time moving for you, Ben? Has NFL free agency making your head spin?
A little bit. I've been a little off and on with it. So I went on a trip last week too. Drove out to grandma's house, spent some time with her, which was fantastic. Montana. Took the family out there, and time change, climate change, and then sleeping in a different bed and coming back. My sleep's been kind of messed up too, and I've just been kind of chilling since I got back the last couple of days. So I've been keeping an eye on free agency, but I might have missed a couple signings. I don't know.
Climate change, Ben. Let's not get
don't blame your sleep on climate change, dude.
Do you guys ever notice that? So I mean, like I got the ocean air out here, and then you go out and it's just like no humidity out in the
because all those polar ice caps are melting, man.
Yeah, well, no denying this climate change is man-made.
Wait, you were Flathead Lake, right? You get was it too cold to swim?
Yeah, we didn't go down to the water, but it was actually pretty nice. We did some drive, went for some drives. We drove around the entire lake.
Yeah,
the biggest freshwater lake west of the Mississippi. So we're on the south side and drove up one coast to Kalispell at the north, which you've been to, right? You've been to Kalispell?
Yeah. My good college buddy was born in Kalispell.
Yeah. So we drove to Kalispell one day. We went up one side, came back down the other. So we drove around. It's a long, skinny lake. We drove around the whole thing. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome. I'm in the same boat as Gretch with free agent signings. It kind of was revealed on the Swolecast today. I had read half of Silva's rundown on ETR, so I knew the quarterbacks, and I think it was what was next in there, the running backs, but I did not know the wide receivers. I was like, oh, Corey Davis signed with the Jets, huh? I was like, that's pretty exciting. So we could all figure this out together. Apparently, what has been the most kind of impactful or interesting move for you, Pat?
Well, the Curtis Samuel signing that just came through is interesting, and it just came through, so we are as prepared as everyone else to talk about it, which puts us on an equal footing.
Well, and I was going to say Fitzpatrick. So, I think that was a super impactful move. And so it gives us a good little jumping off point.
Yeah, all right.
Let's jump off.
What do
you think about Samuel, Pat?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm kind of two minds about it because on the one hand, it's pretty fun to have Fitzpatrick with Samuel and McLaurin. Like all of a sudden, that's kind of a fun lineup there. But on the other hand, we just saw Curtis Samuel in Carolina with the same coaching staff, basically, and they didn't really use him that interestingly. So I don't know. Was that more about the quarterback, or was that more about they're going to kind of pigeonhole him again, or did it take like another coaching staff using him more like a traditional wide receiver for them to kind of realize he could be used like that?
Well, yeah, he had the really high ADOT, and I know he had a really bad rate of catchable passes. That was the thing on what's his face? What is it, Kyle Allen?
Yeah, Kyle Allen.
I can't even remember these like average quarterbacks.
Do you have Top Shot brain?
Yeah. He could not throw accurate passes down the field. Fitzpatrick, we know, will chuck it down the field. So maybe it's a better fit even if Samuel's in a similar role. But it's got to be super good for McLaurin, I think, just to have somebody on the opposite side that can draw a little bit of attention, has speed down the field. McLaurin has had such a high ADOT and will probably continue to see downfield looks too, but he can get more intermediate, shallow area and be the true number one at all depths. And then you have Samuel sort of working off that. Be kind of like in my mind, a Stephon Diggs and John Brown sort of dynamic when Brown was healthy this past year. He wasn't healthy a ton, but if Samuel's in that deep threat role, I mean, that's how Rivera used him last, right?
Yeah, that is. But before that, he was used as kind of like this, hybrid running back wide receiver, which he kind of is. But
Yeah.
then the following year, he switched completely and was like just pure deep threat. So last year was kind of the best of both worlds, except he was the third guy in the rotation. But yeah,
I'm not stoked about Samuel, but I'm stoked about McLaurin for all these moves. I mean, so when we did Omnifantasy, I told you guys from the beginning I took Washington in my 16-team league really late, and I was hoping for Fitzpatrick. They got a good young defense. They got Antonio Gibson. They have McLaurin, and now they add Fitzpatrick and Samuel to round out their offense. And Fitzpatrick, I think, is just a huge upgrade for them. I don't think he's amazing, but he will take shots down the field. He's smart, dude. Like I don't. Oh, hey, he went to Harvard. I was not trying to tie that together, but he is a smart, high football IQ quarterback. Some of the interceptions he throws, some of the wild throws he takes, they're people dogging on Twitter, but they're in game situations where he needs to be taking shots. Like that's what we see. Some of the best analysts, like the Kevin Coles out there, who are looking at certain things that they'll criticize quarterbacks like the Aaron Rodgers of a couple of years ago for not taking shots in spots where you need to be willing to throw an interception. Fitzpatrick will always do that, right? And he does throw some bad picks in spots where he shouldn't as well. I'm not saying he's perfect, but definitely some of it, I don't know. It's probably tracked somewhere, PFF or somewhere. I'd say some percentage of his picks are probably in these okay to throw an interception because you needed to take a shot scenarios, right? And I don't know. That's always been my perception of him, that he understands the game situations. He understands when to push the ball. I don't know. He's obviously fun. Like he's magic.
And I agree with your McLaurin take. He was not used as like a pure deep threat last year. His ADOT was a little lower, down at no, that's the wrong number. Let's see. Air yards per target of 9.8 last year. So that's actually not.
Oh, what was it his rookie year? It was like 14.
It was like 14 or 15. I'll pull it up in a second. But I mean, he was used, more like, Robbie Anderson was at 9.6. Tyler Lockett was at 9.7. So used kind of more like a shallower version of a number one wide receiver. Devontae Adams was 8.8. Allen Robinson was 9.5. So that gives you some comparisons. But like true deep threats are 12, 13, 14 ADOTs.
I didn't realize that with McLaurin, that it fell that much with a new coaching staff last year that's still there.
Yep.
He's going to get a lot of targets, dude.
He's going to get a lot of targets.
Isn't this also even just very exciting from the Panthers skill position perspective? Because Samuel was eating into all three of the big dogs. I mean, Moore, Robbie, and taking some targets and carries from C-Mac or whoever at the time was running back. I mean, that really cleans things up there.
Yeah, and if you guys had watched the episode last week, we did talk about one interesting stacking element is to try to target condensed offenses. And the Panthers might end up being the most condensed offense, maybe other than the Vikings, in the entire league.
That was very well done, Pat. I mean, that was like word for word what I was saying when I wrote the article.
It felt pretty good to be able to do that back to you, Ben.
It felt pretty good to confidently have a take that had already been made just a week ago on these very airwaves. Yeah, I mean, but kind of historically, I mean, Fitzpatrick is definitely known to lock in to an alpha and pepper them with targets. Like, can we think of an analog of like a Curtis Samuel type that he has supported? Granted, Curtis Samuel is a pretty unique player.
Yeah, it's tough because, I mean, in a way, Curtis Samuel doesn't fit with the guys he's had recently because Fitzpatrick has had guys who don't separate but can fight for the ball. He can kind of chuck it up to them.
That's such an impossible question, by the way, because trying to figure out who was on the different teams that Fitzpatrick was on when he was on those teams is so hard. Like, I immediately was like, I got to go to Pro Football Reference and even remember he plays for a different team every year.
What about Stevie Johnson? Was it Stevie Johnson? Is that a good comp?
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm trying to the FUD take I'm hinting at here is he likes throwing the YOLO balls, forcing it in, like getting the alpha, his targets, and then the short stuff. He loves just tucking it and running. Doesn't love doing the dump off. Doesn't seem to do a ton of like the screen pass type stuff. So I'm trying to hint at, is Curtis Samuel that great of a fit with Fitzpatrick?
Well, he had D-Jax in Tampa. for a bit, and
that's true.
Djax's splits with Fitzpatrick and Jameis were massive. They were good with Fitzpatrick and terrible with Jameis. And then obviously his last year there, again, him and Jameis were on and off, but they had Godwin breaking out at that point. And right? Yeah. Godwin had 842 and 7 that year. I just pulled it up.
He really broke out the next year, but yeah.
Yeah, those aren't perfect comparisons, I don't think, to McLaurin and Curtis Samuel. I mean, they're really not in any kind of real way, but he supported 2 receivers when he was playing QB in those offenses.
Yeah. I mean, do we worry at all that, Antonio Gibson famously got the Christian McCaffrey comp, and now you have the guy coming in who notoriously stole some touches from Antonio Gibson. Does that ding his ceiling a little bit?
From McCaffrey, does that ding Gibson's ceiling is what you're asking? Yeah, that's interesting. Under Rivera, Samuel didn't have as much of an impact on McCaffrey.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think that Samuel's going to hurt Gibson too much. Again, because I think Samuel got this contract because of his play last season. He didn't get it based on his play the previous 2 seasons, where he wasn't that good in either of the 2 roles that he was pigeonholed into. So if he's going to be used more like a traditional wide receiver, then that's good for Gibson, because we just want this offense to be getting more first downs than it was last year.
Yeah.
They're going to be fun, though. I think they're going to win the NFC East, dudes.
Yeah. I mean, I think, my take is I think it's going to be so fun for fantasy and just probably bad for the overall outlook of the franchise, because it just puts you in purgatory mode, right? Like, I mean, they're good enough to win a playoff game. You're not winning a Super Bowl with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
But how great would that be?
That'd be awesome.
They're
gonna be better than they've been in a long time, I think. I really do. I mean, I think this is kind of like Keenum, the year that he was with the Vikings. They made a run to the NFC Championship. Like, I don't think that's out of the question. If Fitzpatrick stays healthy and plays well enough, he's playing really well for Miami last year. He's gotten better with age. I mean, I know he's 38 now, and maybe he gets hurt, and maybe this is all just rainbows and butterflies, but that defense is legit. They carried this team back from a 2-7 record to the playoffs. I mean, they obviously had a losing record, but the defense carried them. Alex Smith, obviously a great story, but he was not playing. He was just protecting the ball. That was a defense, and now they have an offense that will take some shots and be aggressive. And I think that is really important in the modern NFL. And they can also sit back and run the ball if the defense is just like, pitching a shutout. But they're going to win football games, I think. I really do.
I missed this take. Skip Bayless said he's going on a revenge tour like Tom Brady. What a take. Yeah. Fitzpatrick
is going on a revenge tour.
Yeah, man. He's got
a lot of places to go.
A lot of skeletons in his closet. Let's see. Let's talk some other things. The other news from today, AJ Green signing with the Cardinals. I mean, God, they love their dusty old wide receivers there.
I think this is pretty good for Christian Kirk. This is their big wide receiver addition. He might actually have some value this year.
I missed that. AJ Green's going to play with Is Larry Fitzgerald still playing?
That's my question. Like, what? I mean, if they're running the 4 wide with Fitz and AJ Green in the inside slots, like I'm out on the Cardinals. The air raid is done. I'm throwing away my book.
He's technically a free agent, but I would assume the only team that would bring him back would be Arizona. Like, what? Who's signing Larry Fitzgerald right now?
God. Belichick should sign him. He's wanted him his whole career.
Pull up great fit Patriot, dude. He
could mentor.
What do you guys think about
longtime
Sean Siegel favorite Gerald Everett signing with the Seahawks? That seems kind of fun.
Yeah, my brain is still in last season mode, because I was like, I wish that trade would have happened like at the NFL trade deadline when we had Gerald Everett stashed on a ton of benches. I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah,
I do too. I like it
because he can. I mean, of all those, the logjam at tight end, the Disleys, the Hollisters, like he's infinitely more talented than those guys, like right out of the gate.
And people are going to look at like Seattle splits and say Russ doesn't throw his tight ends that much. I mean, when Jimmy Graham came there, he scored like 10 touchdowns. They threw him. He was their red zone offense for like. Do you remember that one year for like 8 weeks they didn't run the ball inside the like inside the 5, and Jimmy Graham had like 15 targets inside the 5. It was absurd.
Yeah.
He caught a bunch of touchdowns in short. I could totally see them doing something similar with Everett. I think he's going to be a good source of touchdowns at a position where that's basically all you need to be. So he's interesting.
I had to show this because this is too good.
Was that the first pull?
That was the first pull. I did it once.
God, I think I made these jokes like 3 years ago. Some of them apparently stand up or hold up. Some of them do not.
This is amazing. This you couldn't have written this better today.
Oh my god, I love this website too has the kind of 8-bit aesthetic that is incredibly in vogue right now. I really should just NFT this website. I mean, talk about an unearthed project right here.
If you get some Ethereum devs to rescue this website and put each one of the bits on it as its own NFT, they'll all be worth like 2 ETH.
Yeah, seriously.
By Sunday.
A legitimate question as someone who hasn't been following like the news cycle quite as much. What is going on with like the Russell Wilson trade rumors? Like why is it even a rumor? Like I don't know the cap contract stuff. I don't even know why they would entertain getting rid of him.
My take on that is Pete Carroll is kind of nuts. There was that report that there's really no one that's checking Carroll or Schneider in the building. I don't even know who their owner is because Paul Allen passed away just a year or two ago. He was not like super hands-on, but he was a presence, I know, and he passed away. So they don't have like Carroll outlives whoever the current owner is as like, you know, the owner. He's been the coach for longer. I'm sure it's in the Allen family still. I don't know who it is, but I don't know that there's anyone there that can kind of stop Pete Carroll from sort of doing Pete Carroll things. And I think this is just sort of a Pete Carroll thing.
Yeah.
So there's a comment here from Hassan. Pete Carroll has gone senile, which I thought was pretty aggressive. And then, it's Hassan.
No, but really, like, if he was really going to get traded, would the Bears have already agreed with Andy Dalton for $10 million? I don't think they would have.
No,
I don't think there's any chance. There's I think teams have probably kicked the tires and realized that Seattle's not serious.
Yeah. I do think that was actually a little tame for Hassan. I think normal Hassan would be, Pete Carroll should be drawn and quartered. I think it would be more typical Hassan. But wasn't Pete Carroll's like one of his first quotes this offseason? Like, we got to run the ball more this year. Like,
I believe that's why they fired the OC, who was Schottenheimer,
was the most pass heavy presence in their offense, right?
Yeah, and he's a caveman.
Yeah, when he came in, it was like, oh god, they're gonna run more, and then he got fired for being too pass heavy.
Yeah,
God, that is just it's so sad. I mean, let Russ cook. I mean, for Christ's sake. All right, what other
fire Pete? I'm sorry. I mean,
they got to fire Pete.
A lot of people in Seattle don't believe that, but they need to fire Pete. Like, it's just
big time.
Again, I'm not as plugged into that community, but I think Seattle Twitter should change their rallying cry from "Let Russ cook" to "Let's fire Pete." Have they done that yet? Like, "Let's fire Pete." Why isn't that the hashtag?
I think there's a lot of people that still really trust the Pete Carroll mystique. That, you know,
are there any of the because Seattle Twitter is very analytics backed. You know,
not those people. I'm talking.
They're done, right? They're done with Pete Carroll.
I think a lot of them are more or less done. Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them might defend him, but that's not really the heart and soul of the Seattle. The Seattle Twitter is kind of sweet, the Seahawks Twitter, but it's not. I would say the body of the fan base.
Yeah. But it'd be kind of like, they had this young defense. They had all of these great players that kind of came up together, and then they also got Russell Wilson coming up. Wins that job unexpectedly. Remember, they signed the dude out of Green Bay, that backup quarterback, for a ton of money. And Russ beats him out right away. And now you're in the perfect spot. You don't really have any salary cap tied up. You can make this run, and you have a young quarterback you are bringing along slowly. But it's kind of like if the Patriots in 2007 had fired their OC for passing the ball too much and tried to establish it or something. Like you finally have the quarterback ready to take the leap to be what drives you to success.
You need him to carry you now. Like you said, they were in a window where Russ was on his rookie deal. It's not just Russ. They hit on Richard Sherman in a later round pick. They still had Cam Chancellor on a rookie deal, I believe, when they won the Super Bowl, or else he was like just getting his first extension. Earl Thomas was on a rookie deal, first round pick, but KJ Wright, Bobby Wagner, all these dudes were on rookie deals. And then they went out and they signed like Michael Bennett and they signed Cliff Averill, and they had money to spend because they create such a window when you have an above average quarterback on a rookie contract and you hit on key defenders on rookie deals. When they actually won the Super Bowl and then went back to it the year after, a lot of those dudes, I was actually looking at those contracts a couple of months ago. Some of them might have they got their extensions. I think Cam Chancellor was one of the older ones and got his extension maybe between the Super Bowl year and the next year or something. Maybe it was before the Super Bowl year. I don't know. But a lot of those dudes were drafted in the couple years before that. They just hit. They strung together hits, and that creates an awesome window.
And not to say that happened by accident, because they had to pick those players, and that takes a lot of skill to establish that team in the first place. But at that point, you could basically have anyone coaching the team, and it's going to be a good team, you know. So and
they did things wrong with that cap too. They brought in Percy Harvin and paid him a ton of money. He did nothing. They brought in Jimmy Graham. They traded Max Unger to get Jimmy Graham, and Graham wasn't worth what they gave up. They gave up a first and Unger.
Yeah. They were always giving up first, every year, trying to make those splashy signings.
And those guys weren't Graham and Harvin especially weren't worth what they gave up and paid them. But that's what happens when you hit on that many players and you have a quarterback like Russell Wilson. Now you don't have that, and you're paying Russ a ton of money. You got to let him win it for you. You know what I mean? You have to transition.
Yeah. Pat, I'm sure you've started thinking about reshuffling your dynasty ranks. Who do you think is the biggest mover or shaker in one direction or another, just solely because of free agency?
Well, let's see. I mean, A.J. Dillon's going to come down a bit. That really hurt him to get Aaron Jones locked up. I think Aaron Jones will move up a little bit. Terry McLaurin is going to be moving up, as we talked about.
Where do you think Terry McLaurin settles redraft ADP? Like, what did he go in your draft last week?
I don't know. I don't know where he went.
He's probably mid. Is he like a mid third still or whatever?
I don't know.
This is the beauty where we're here in what month is it? March, and by August we will have every single ADP just by heart, just completely internalized. All right. Well, you're not.
But he's in such a big group of sort of similar receivers too. It is kind of hard to know if it was like third or fifth round for a guy like that.
Yeah, I don't think he would have been in the third round. I'll pull up the ADP, but
I'm interested as you're pulling that up. I want to talk about the Patriots a little bit because people are going nuts about how much money they spent, and
Dude, they just blew their stimmy check on the first day of free agency.
Did you see Thorman's tweet?
No.
Thorman basically tweeted that, and then he retweeted his own tweet and was just like, he was like, on further analysis, this was not a unique thought.
There's no, I forget who I was talking to about that, where, even if you're first, there's no worse feeling than saying everyone had the same joke idea as you.
But what I think is fascinating is the takes were they're tilted off Tom Brady winning the Super Bowl. They're chasing, they're chasing something. They're we just talked about this a couple of years ago in the industry, and maybe I'm way wrong here, and maybe the chat or you guys, somebody can straighten me out, but this is what the Patriots do, is it not? They milk the comp pick formula. They have the highest comp pick in this year's draft because they didn't sign. The comp pick formula is a 1-year thing. It's how many big free agents you sign and how many you let go. They cross off if they're similar contracts, whatever. They have the highest comp pick in the 2021 draft. I believe that's tied to Tom Brady. They also have the 10th or 12th highest. So they have two of the top comp picks from last year. They do this for multiple years and milk the comp pick formula. Silver was talking about this a few years back, a ton. Then when they do sign free agents and they know they're not going to get any comp picks, they make multiple multi-year deals in the same offseason so that they don't, you know what I mean? So it is actually a strategy that I have not seen anyone talk about this. Am I wrong?
Explain that last part a little more. Why are they signing these guys in the same offseason? What's the advantage of that?
Well, you got to sign people at some point, right? And so if you stack them all at one time, then in the next offseason, when you're letting guys go, like the Patriots are every year, and there's high, before Brady, it was, Nate Solder signed a huge deal with the Giants. It's just dollar value that goes into the comp formula. So there's always Patriots that are going out and signing huge deals. And they have had all these years where they haven't signed. And that's why people are like, oh my God, they're blowing money. The Patriots never do this. Well, they never do it. The reason you would stack it is because then you don't do it for a couple of years. You have a multi-year deal for Jonnu Smith. You have a multi-year deal for Hunter Henry, whatever. You can retain people with the money that you have. On the flip side, I saw the Colts had a comment about like one of their beats was like they're saving money to extend Quentin Nelson and some other guys internally, and that got a little bit of a bad response from somebody. Somebody was quote tweeting that. That's where I saw it. But like same thing, if they're only using their money in 1 year to retain and they're letting some guys walk and sign, they'll get comp picks. Like literally the worst thing you can do is what all fans seem to want all teams do, which is like get a couple free agents every year. Then you're just giving up the comp pick thing. And these are not unimportant picks. There's those studies that have shown that the most valuable picks are not necessarily first round picks. The surplus value in the second round, third round is huge. We always talk around the draft, day 2 picks are where the draft's won. Like there's still so much talent available and you get way more affordable contracts. The comp picks start at the end of the third round. The Patriots have the first one. It's like 96 overall or something. Like they're going to get somebody there that could be a key piece. Or it gives them
unless they draft a wide receiver.
Unless they draft a receiver, they're gonna get another shot. They're gonna have multiple third rounders. They're gonna have multiple fourth rounders because they have the other comp pick. And I think that's sort of what the Colts are thinking too. I don't know if they have any big guys that are being signed away from them, but I'm sure they.
So you're saying that the Patriots are basically like, all right, we already signed Cam or whatever, so we blew our comp pick for the year. So let's sign a bunch of other dudes or whatever. Once they get to a certain point, it's like, well, we might as well. We already blew our comp picks a year.
Cam doesn't impact it because he's a re-signing. It's
right.
agents.
Good point.
And this is also why they waited all offseason last year to sign Cam. You'll see this happen where like at a certain date, it no longer goes into the comp pick formula, and we'll see the late signings that are after the comp. Like the teams don't want to lose a comp pick. So there's teams that milk this. The Ravens milk it every year. The Eagles are doing it for a while. Oh God, like the Patriots have definitely been on comp picks for like every year. They're always which doesn't make sense because they're like the good team. The reason the comp pick thing came out was for teams that like couldn't retain. Like it was like, okay, small market team, bad city, can't retain a star, can't attract free agents. We'll give them an extra pick. That was the idea. But ever since that came in, the Patriots have been super smart at getting the best comp picks because they either let guys go and they don't bring in a ton of free agents, they retain, and then they splurge one offseason. And they've done this before in different offseasons several years ago. I mean, I don't know the exact year, but I don't know, man. It feels like fans want teams to they want them to like get a couple free agents. They're a little bit smarter now. They don't want the team to necessarily mortgage the future because you'll see fans get mad when they overpay for a long-term deal. But that's not the way you should play NFL free agency. If you want your team to be smart, it's either for one offseason sort of lay back and re-sign your guys only and get comp picks because you need to build that way. Those are, again, valuable picks, third, fourth round picks, or load up in one offseason and actually go for it like the Patriots are doing. Like, I don't know. That's the way I was viewing it the whole time. And like everyone has a different take on that. So I feel like I'm missing something.
Yeah, I don't understand the cap setup that the kind of 3D chess that they might be playing there. And I think my guess would people have this they have their fantasy brain reaction to it, right? Where it's like, how am I going to use Henry and Jonnu ever and being able to trust them? Kendrick Bourne, not getting excited about that. Like I think
that's a bad signing. Kendrick Bourne.
It's like it's the most Patriots wide receiver signing ever. Like a guy with no speed that's like not going to make a boneheaded mistake that Bill Belichick is going to tilt over.
You think that was a bad signing, Pat? Wasn't it?
Yeah, I do. I
It's
don't
like
care what
3
he
years, 22.5 million.
I honestly don't. Kendrick Bourne's he couldn't make any noise last year with the wide open depth chart on the 49ers. Like he's not going to add anything. He's a body.
What did they give him guaranteed? Oh, I guess they gave him like $5 million guaranteed. Yeah.
I didn't know Gresh was such a Bourne stan.
I'm not, but I didn't think the contract. I couldn't tell if Pat was being facetious or not because I thought it was a low impact signing, but apparently.
Well, yeah, it's not going to break them, but I just don't. Yeah. I just never. What's the point of signing Kendrick Bourne to anything other than like a 1-year deal with no guaranteed money? Does everyone like Kendrick Bourne? I don't.
He's gonna have 80 catches this year. Now I'm a Kendrick Bourne stan.
I'll do a side bet of Myers versus Bourne.
I might take Myers on that too. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I want Myers for sure.
I think the Pats. The other thing I would say about the Pats, because I actually think the tight end thing is smart too. Like this is the way Belichick has always ran his team too. He doesn't like, and people are like, how are they going to use them? I don't think Belichick hasn't that decided yet. I think Belichick knows that he can use 2 tight ends. There's a lot of different ways you can build an offense, but guys get hurt. It's a sport of attrition, right? Like if Henry goes down in the offseason like he did a couple of years back, okay, now they're probably going to be a 1 tight end team with Johnny or vice versa, or they can find ways to use them both, right? And a lot of teams have done that successfully. The Colts have done it. They've done it for years. Obviously, the Patriots have done it. There's a lot of ways you can do that. But, well, wait, Stephon Gilmore got traded to Washington while we're talking right now?
Yeah, I just saw that thing. I was trying to verify on Twitter. Oh, sorry, Pat. Go for it.
Oh, that's going to be dope.
Well, this still could be bullshit, but now I put it on the show.
Nice. But anyway, I think Belichick's biggest strength has always been depth and versatility with his offense and with his personnel and understanding that like they've never been dependent on one individual player other than probably Brady, right? But they've had injuries. They've won Super Bowls in years where Gronk went out for the year. Any other team, every other team signs a free agent is like, this is our guy, like a Rob Gronkowski type. This is going to be who we're going to run our offense through. He goes down, we're fucked. But like the Patriots, they don't operate like that. So they bring in both tight ends. We don't know how they're going to use them necessarily. I don't think they know how they're going to use them. It depends on, I think it'll be a competition to some degree. If one of them is in better shape, is playing better, whatever, you might see that guy kind of pull ahead. They literally just understand that this is a sport of attrition, and you need, reinforcements. You need depth at a lot of different spots. They obviously think the tight end position is very important. They haven't had good tight ends the last couple of years. They're investing a lot of money and capital into it. I mean, that's clear, but I don't think they're like out of their mind or crazy or thinking they're going to redo the Gronk Hernandez thing. I don't think they even know what they're necessarily doing. They're just building their roster a certain way so that they have flexibility.
Yeah. No, I agree. It's in some ways maybe similar to what the Eagles did last year with they have Wentz and then they draft Hurts. And it's like, what's the point of this? And it's like, well, we were able to add a good guy and at a cost we liked. And in this case, you do have the out of being able to play them both together. Maybe it does work out that you run a 2 tight end offense, which kind of fits with what they're trying to do with the big quarterback who they run with and, kind of a power running game with Harris. Like it kind of all makes sense to have the 2 tight ends. But to your point, they don't have to do that. If Jonnu Smith emerges as just clearly better than Hunter Henry or vice versa, then, maybe that guy has a huge breakout season. The other guy doesn't play as much as they thought, but that's still a win for them. It's still a big win for them. So they're just giving themselves a couple outs at an important position.
And it's also it's so tilting that they still can never find one electric wide receiver. They just can't do it. They're completely incapable of doing it.
I mean, Kobe Myers had like a 2.2 yards per out run as a sophomore, man. He's got a little juice. He's got a little juice.
I can't. Where's N'Keal Harry going to be in your dynasty rankings?
I put him at 150 just to kind of show people that I still thought he was alive. And then Hunter Henry was not re-signed, and
Wait,
Levitan
did it
yelled
go
at me.
to 150? Did he get that spot? You do 150.
I did. I went through in this pre-free agency. I did 150 because I'm like the last 151 to 200 is just going to be junk in a week.
And the 150 is always the guy that you're like, I didn't want to leave him off.
Yeah,
The token guy.
So I gave him the token guy, and then Hunter Henry didn't re-sign. So then I went on Establish a Run Pod, and Levitan yelled at me for not having Donald Parham on there.
But Henry's gone.
So now N'Keal Harry's out and Donald Parham's in.
Nice.
Yeah,
There you go. Poor N'Keal Harry, man.
yeah. It's a tough scene.
Very tough scene. What are some of these other ones I'm scrolling through here? Anything interesting? How do we feel about the Corey Davis to the Jets?
Yeah, I don't love that.
I'm not going to touch him. I'm so biased against Corey Davis. I was stoked. I mean, Pat, you were super stoked on him too, but I thought he was going to
I could take it or leave it early.
Corey Davis #5.
It's crazy how have you ever been invited to do a show with Kevin Cole ever since then?
I never have.
Yeah.
I was hosting that thing. But
I remember.
Well, Kevin Cole was on right before and dropped off as soon as he saw us.
I need to upload that as an actual drop clip in our StreamYard so I can play it because that clip gets referenced to get him out.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
But
anything else make a move? Yeah.
The Corey Davis thing, though, like super biased against how bad he was early in his career, super biased against the fact that A.J. Brown is just so much better, and people tried to say that Davis was better. Like, I just love A.J. Brown so much. So I'm not the right guy to ask on that, but he is just not anything better than a number 2 receiver. Like, he's was a number good 2 this year. Yeah.
Yes.
He was good this year because A.J. Brown was there. Like, let's be clear about that. If you watch the games, and I mean, I'm totally going to do this film thing, but every team was putting attention on A.J. Brown, and when they did, that's when Tannehill coming off play action would be looking to where the defense wasn't. And Davis had such favorable matchups. He had so many wide open catches. He was the king of the free 10-yard wide open catch this year. He's not a man beater. He's not a number 1 receiver.
Yeah, and the play action thing is the other huge aspect of this. We know play action is a very efficient way to pass, and the Titans have they're one of the few teams that can actually run their offense through the run game and have a good offense. So he's benefiting twice.
Yeah, and then add in the issues with guys coming off career years, changing teams, and projections. Everyone's going to project him to lead them in targets, so he's going to go in the 6th round because everyone's going to project him for 120, 130 targets. It's the volume thing. It'll happen. I'm not going to.
Because how do you not project him for that? Yeah. It's like so hard not to.
But he'll go 2 rounds too high because of it.
Yeah,
right?
he will.
I'm just not going to draft him.
I'll plant my flag right now and say the FFPC grinders are going to love Corey Davis this year. He's going to be.
He's going to be the reason you can draft running backs early because it's like I got Corey Davis in the 7th.
Oh my god. All right. What are some of these other wide?
Well, I did want to. Can we pour one out for Allen Robinson?
Yeah,
poor guy.
So sad.
Is he back with the Bears?
Back with the Bears, franchise tagged.
But he's got Andy Dalton.
Dalton. Then they sign Andy Dalton. Yeah, it's rough.
We should bore out for Allen Robinson. That's a big story.
The best quarterback he's ever going to play with is Blake Bortles. That'll be his best quarterback in his entire career.
That can't be Blake Bortles. Can't. I mean,
who was it? Trubisky then?
Yeah, I mean,
Big
Bortles
Nick.
better than actually Foles. Foles has to be his best quarterback, right?
I think peak Bortles was better than the Foles that Robinson saw.
God.
Remember the training camp video of Allen Robinson that's like, God damn it, Bortles or whatever, like on the fade route?
Yeah.
Or the
it's
corner
brutal,
route,
man.
it's just like way off. And that was great.
It's I saw circling back to this McLaurin thing real quick, just because some dynasty talk here. McLaurin went at 6'2" in a startup draft. Is it just me, or does that seem like, I mean, I don't know if it's like super flex, tight end premium or whatever, but that seems late.
That's late.
Yeah. Too late.
Too late. Nice scoop.
Too late.
Marlon Mack resigned. Do we care? I don't really care.
Yeah.
Good for him coming off that injury. That sucks. So
it's a low priced 1-year deal. he's just going to back up Jonathan Taylor, right? Like people last year thought Mack was going to play ahead of Taylor. I think we're not going to get that take anywhere, are we?
No, I don't think anyone would have that take. But I've been kind of bearish on Taylor in redraft. I'm like slightly behind in dynasty, but barely. But in redraft, I think he's not ready to be taken as a top 5 guy because of Hines, but certainly not great. There's now the potential of a little bit of a committee, not a true committee, but just enough to piss you off.
We got a few more situations here in the chat. Real quick from Dave. Thoughts on Gabe Davis, worried about Emmanuel Sanders stealing his thunder?
So I'm more worried about
Emmanuel Sanders?
Yeah, they signed.
Wow. I can't believe I'm more up on the news than you are, man.
Jesus Christ.
I like this dynamic.
He's older than Larry Fitzgerald. What are you guys worried about? This dude tore his Achilles like 4 years ago. He can't even run.
But I understand the concern, right?
People were drafting him in the 8th round last year. He was the number 1 guy I faded last year. I did not have him in my rankings.
But teams don't sign these guys, just sit on the bench. Like he could definitely steal.
What's going on? That's the Leonard Fournette take.
What?
that's the Leonard Fournette when he signed a Tampa Bay take.
How did that work out, Pat?
It's great for Joe until the playoffs.
Today is Emmanuel Sanders' birthday. Happy birthday. Sweet player in his prime. Loved him. It's his 34th birthday today.
I love the sincere, like, happy birthday, by the way, but you fucking suck now, man.
It is literally his birthday.
This guy is 34. Happy birthday, but you're washed up. Yeah.
Here's the thing: is Gabe Davis good?
Last year? That was supposed to be a scenario where Emmanuel Sanders would have been worth the fact that he was going in the 8th round for all the boomers. What? He had like 2 good games.
Yeah, is Gabe Davis good? Because if Gabe Davis is good, then Emmanuel Sanders isn't playing in front of him, and they just cut John Brown, so I think they think Gabe Davis is good, but they want to have a break glass in case of emergency type of situation with Emmanuel Sanders. That's my read on it.
Yeah.
John Brown to the Raiders. I missed that one too.
Look at this. Everyone, if you post your free agency news in the chat and you will break news, you'll be the Schefter for Ben Gretsch right now.
John Brown to the Raiders. So straight up.
Yeah, because we got Aguilar going to New England, John Brown. I kind of like that. Is it bad?
Like, you're getting a deep threat because you didn't get what you needed out of Henry Ruggs last year?
I was just going to say that's probably a pretty big indictment on how they feel about Henry Ruggs right now.
Feels like it.
Although, I don't know. He was just cut and he's old. I think it's better for Ruggs that they brought in Brown than if they had re-signed Aguilar.
Yeah. That's fair.
I think I'm going to own a fair amount of Ruggs this year because people seem really bearish on him, like even more bearish on him than Rager in Dynasty, where I thought I was going to have to like be the sole guy carrying Rager into year 2. But I think, and I wasn't Ruggs heading into last year very much at all, but I don't know. I mean, he was the first wide receiver drafted, and he's super young, and he came out early, and he does have he has decent size. He's not tiny, and he does something incredibly well at the NFL level. He wasn't awful. He wasn't great, but I was talking with Davis, and it's like, what if he had like 2 of the games that Nelson Aguilar had last year? Which he didn't, but these are highly volatile roles that these 2 dudes were in. They're both deep threats. They're making their names on like, 1 or 2 plays in a game. If he had, we would be, I think, pretty excited about Henry Ruggs. There'd be a lot of buzz on him.
You know how many times he had more than 5 targets? Because the Nelson Aguilar game you're talking about, he got like 7, 8, 9 targets. You know how many times he had more than 5 targets last year?
3 times.
No, 0. He only had 5 targets twice. He never had more. Like Henry Ruggs was like a situational deep threat last year. He only had 4 targets 3 times. I mean, this guy was a 3-target air yard guy last year. I think it would have been hard for him to have the Nelson Aguilar games. Aguilar was actually drawing targets, you know?
Yeah. And he was a very boom bust prospect. Like him being out of the league after his rookie deal is on the table with like the lack of production that he had in college. So I'm not trying to say he's like a lock, but the ceiling that he comes with is really, really high, and the price is going to be really low this year.
It's probably fair though. Yeah.
Yeah. What other ones do we have here? And so Tyrell Williams leaves and heads to Detroit. Marvin Jones, did you see he's gone to Jacksonville?
Yeah.
What do we think?
Yeah, I saw the ones before. It's my wife's birthday today, for the record. It's not that I'm completely not paying any attention. She shares a birthday with Emmanuel Sanders, apparently. But yeah, it's not that I'm...
Happy birthday. So happy birthday. On air, you wished happy birthday to Emmanuel Sanders before your wife?
I'm doing a show on my wife's birthday.
This is how Gretch does happy birthdays. Emmanuel Sanders, happy birthday. You're washed up. Honey, happy birthday. I'm doing ship chasing tonight.
No, I took her out during the day a little bit. We drove around. Got a nice meal for her, early dinner. We planned out dinner this time.
Hang on.
Like she's your old grandma. I took her for a nice drive and then got some food in her belly.
It also sounds like you guys went through the drive-through, to be honest.
No, we got really good Indian takeout. It's like one of our favorite.
Again,
things. Like
this kid is this drive-through.
We got her out of the house, took her for a jog. We gave her a walk around the park with the leash, and now she's resting at the foot of my bed. Oh my god, that's true. Yeah, you didn't pull you can't top Pete Jennings coming into Club Top Shot like hours before his wife gives birth from the delivery room.
That was pretty great.
That's a good one from Sam. Hey daughter, happy birthday. Give me a beer to celebrate. Oh man.
No, I'll have to miss on my daughter's birthday. Those are important. My wife doesn't even care. I don't care. Who cares about being old?
Oh. That's nice. I'm not gonna do a show for 3 weeks around my birthday. What do we now that I care, now that Chris Conley, dare I say, became my favorite wide receiver on the Jags, do we think he gets re-signed?
Yeah, I don't.
Not with the Jags.
Probably not, right? Yeah, not with the Jags.
Not with Visca. They sub Chark under contract, and adding Marvin Jones, I think. As soon as I read that, I was like, our best bud, Chris Conley's. We're gonna have to hope that he lands somewhere solid, because he's probably not going to come back there.
Yeah. Well, what about LaVisca? I mean, I don't think this is ideal for Visca.
Marvin?
Yeah.
Why? I feel like they won't be. I feel like Marvin is going to be used.
Speaking of the quintessential number 2 that's like massively overhyped, I don't know.
I mean, I don't think Marvin Jones is like awesome, but Visca didn't really play out of the slot last year, 27% out of the slot. So he got a fair amount of his work on the outside last year, and they have Shark. So how much playing time does Visca lose as a result of this signing? Is he getting a full-time wide receiver role now?
I see what you're saying.
I'd like to see him more in the slot. I mean, are you telling me we might see him more in the slot? We might see him shift to the backfield more like we thought last year? Are we actually going to see some fun things?
We might see more. I mean, Keelan Cole is a free agent. They have not re-signed him, so there's a chance they just use him as their full-time slot wide receiver.
Wasn't the issue last year is that they were using Visca too much with fun things and not enough as a primary wide receiver?
They weren't using him enough. Period. He just wasn't out on the field enough. Yeah,
I felt like they weren't doing enough of the fun things.
I felt like whenever they were using him, it was with the gimmicky stuff, and I was like, let's let him eat, let the big dog loose.
Yeah, he just wasn't running a full slate of routes.
They weren't running him down the field enough. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Like, he was always near the line of scrimmage. The few times that he actually got into routes downfield, he made some plays. Like late in the year, he had a long touchdown down the field. Yeah, you'd like to see more of that, but you can do that out of the slot. I'd like to see him in the slot.
Yeah.
And people are saying they might be playing a lot of 3-4 wide, which that also sounds pretty fun. I mean, you want to talk about quarterback upgrade. My God.
Oh, God, I forgot about Urban Meyer there. Like, he always had the Percy Harvin, the Curtis Samuel, that type of dude that did a little of both. Like, maybe he'll actually do what we want some guys to do with Visca, which doesn't mean you can't use him down the field. I mean, you can use Percy creatively. You can use these guys creatively. I don't know. I'm not that worried about Visca. I think Visca's a unique enough player that a guy like Marvin Jones doesn't concern me, is the bottom line.
Yeah. I don't think it's too bad. I wanted to save this big one for the end. Noah Brown re-signs a 1-year deal with Dallas. Are you guys excited as I am?
No, because they keep playing him instead of CeeDee Lamb last year. It's so frustrating. That's actually frustrating.
We never talked about the NFL NFTs.
Let's wrap up with that.
Have we? I feel like there's a signing we missed somewhere.
So I got in line for here's an update on my Top Shot. I got in line that one time for the premium pack, didn't get it, and have not been on the site since. That's how engaged that I am.
That also pretty much sums up my experience.
No, it doesn't.
What do you mean?
if your experience is, I didn't get a first pack and then I spent $100,000.
No, my experience is that listening to your buddy Mike Zakarian's morning marketplace has become part of my daily routine, and now I own a PJ Washington metallic gold LE.
He told me that you've been hanging out in the chat, and I was like, it's gonna get expensive for Pat.
Yeah, he talks about PJ Washington more than I talk about Ronald Jones, so I was like, I gotta put my money where my mouth is here.
There you go. Yeah, if you're looking for Top Shot content in the morning, my buddy Mike does a stream. His podcast is called Top Shot Takes. He does a solo stream. He's been cranking them out every single morning.
Literally every morning. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, so check him out for your morning cup of Top Shot Joe.
What do you guys, in all your Top Shot expertise, what do you think is the likelihood of the NFL doing it? How soon would you expect? What does somebody who doesn't know anything about Top Shot need to know? What are your takes on this?
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, so this came out today, actually. NFL execs have been active in discussions with potential partners to develop a digital collectibles and NFT strategy, and teams have been told not to make deals on their own without checking with the league, which was funny to me, thinking about which teams would go rogue trying to pump out their own NFTs before they could get on the official one with the league. I did notice that Roham, the CEO of Dapper, liked this tweet. I have to assume Dapper has a huge lead and edge to get this deal. And I assume with their infrastructure, it wouldn't be that big of a hurdle to spin up. But I don't know, Pat, it still feels like it's something that would probably be, 6 to 9 months away?
Yeah. I think the NFL is going to move slow because the NFL, of course, the first thing they do is just tell everyone to chill out, don't do stuff on their own, because they're going to want to get a huge deal for this. And I think they'll probably hold off until they can, get the deal they think is going to be most profitable for them. Yeah, that would be my guess. And I would say to me, the big innovation with Top Shot is the marketplace, is the liquidity of all of these moments. It's not actually like the NFT component, because I have not, like, outside of, some crypto dunks or whatever, I haven't ventured into the OpenSea NFT art worlds, none of that. And I don't plan to, and I don't think I'd want to, even for the NFL. So to me, like, it's a critical component of this is not that they make a deal with some cardboard manufacturer who also wants to get into NFTs and you can buy NFTs like that.
That zero.
Sucks.
No.
Yeah. It's got to be something, even if it's not Dapper, but something like the Top Shot, the liquid marketplace, the ease of transactions. It's all right there. You don't have to feel like it's a crypto. It's all kind of integrated onto one site.
Yeah. That I completely agree with you. I think the two biggest things for NFT Project to Moon are the marketplace liquidity that Pat just described and a great active big community. And that's why, you see people in the chat talking about the Mahomes NFT auction today, and the Gronk auction went the other day. The Mahomes one is cool because it's going to charity, and like that's great. If rich people want to give their money to get NFTs and go to charity, by all means. But like, you got to think those markets aren't going to have a ton of liquidity. There's just not going to be a ton of volume, and they're not going to have huge communities because there's not going to be a ton of overall moments. I'm sure they'll do some cool stuff with fan engagement for if you have those Mahomes things. Maybe he'll do some meet and greets, whatever. But I just don't see how those hold the attention without the liquidity and the community. And that's why these big NFL or NBA partnerships are so huge. Gives people confidence to come in, large communities form. There's a ton of liquidity with the stuff. And the NFL one's going to be massive. It's going to be really interesting. You already see people super tilted at how hard it is going to get packs. I mean, that's going to be NFL out of the gateway. I mean, we could have the NFL come out. I mean, is it ludicrous to say there could be 500,000 people trying to get a pack, 1 million people trying to get a pack? I don't think that's ludicrous.
No, I think that's probably, we're kind of on schedule for that.
Right.
Yeah.
There were 175,000 people last night trying to get a $9 base series drop that was announced like an hour before it happened. You know, and I think...
Yeah, and that's just not even like I didn't intentionally not get in line for these things. I just haven't known until after they happened in my Omnifantasy chat. All our buddies that are in the chat here, they start talking about it in the DMs, and I'm like, oh, hey, they all were in line. I missed it. Like, you know, like I wasn't on Twitter right when this happened, and I don't have notifications set up anywhere or anything. But like,
yeah,
if the NFL did this and put it out there, you'd imagine 500,000, right? Like.
For
tomorrow.
sure. Yeah. And that's the other thing is that we're probably 6 to 9 months or potentially longer from a deal like this. And I think Top Shot's going to continue to grow. I mean, Top Shot like is going to grow because they had to spend signups. Like people are now finally being able to sign up. Like they shut the doors on people. So if, 6 to 9 months from now, where's Top Shot going to be? And I think that the NFL will capture like 90 to 95% of Top Shot users, whatever, if it's a good NFT product, like.
Well, and that's what's going to be fascinating too. Presumably if it's on Dapper, I mean, you're going to have a shared wallet for most of it. We're going to get a kind of a test run with this with UFC, which should be launching soon on Flow. So you'll be able to use your Dapper wallet. I mean, it's already kind of well known that a lot of these OG NFT guys, they bounce around from project to project. I mean, when how frictionless it will be to sell your NBA moms to go chase the new shiny UFC ones, that's going to be like that times 100 when NFL drops, if it's in your shared Dapper wallet. I mean, you could see the NBA marketplace crater for at least temporarily when that happens.
Yeah, I think so. That's probably a real threat to some of the stuff on Top Shot. I mean, with Top Shot, the biggest question I think is like, is the market eventually going to look like the card market where people only want to spend big money on the ultra premium stuff and everything else is kind of whatever? And I've been feeling like, and Justin at Own the Moments talked a little bit about this, but it's like, if the liquidity of Top Shot in any NFT marketplace like this might create kind of a middle class of asset, because like in cardboard, are you really going to go through the trouble for all this stuff for like just kind of a whatever, like middle class type of card? But if it's like frictionless, it's so easy to list, it's so easy to buy, you don't have to worry about getting the wrong thing, you don't have to ship something to someone, et cetera, then that kind of keeps alive some of the good but not great players. And I think that if the NFL launches, that would be probably the most at-risk stuff. Like if you have, I don't know, like Jokic or some of these other dudes who are really good but aren't like surefire Hall of Famers. I wonder if those dudes are maybe a little bit more at risk. But I don't think LeBron's tanking, I guess is what I'm saying.
And I agree with your overall premise. I would even probably put Jokic closer in that safer tier just because his MVP odds right now are so good. And
he was not a good example.
But yeah, I know
who's a better example. Ben Simmons, someone like that.
Yeah, or even like a Devin Booker.
Brad only knows like 5 NBA players, even though he spends all his time on NBA Top Shot. So he's just naming the
no, that's like me. We now know like most of the league exclusively because of Top Shot moments.
My knowledge is still like not great, but it's like I'm kind of like I have like 1 and maybe 1.5 years of fantasy football under my belt with NBA. I'd say 1. I have 1.
Yeah.
But you know when you first start playing fantasy football and you're like, I know a lot of players now.
Yeah. Well, that was like there was the trade today that and I knew there was PJ Washington was traded today. Did you see that, Pat?
PJ Washington was traded today?
I believe so. Yeah. Oh, sorry, PJ Tucker. My bad.
My God. I was like Jesus Christ.
I'm proving my point.
That screen goes blank.
That's like, I'm broke.
I'm broke.
It was PJ Tucker got traded. And I was like, I have a PJ Tucker moment. Otherwise would not be too familiar with him. Actually, a lot of guys in this trade, I don't think have moments. I don't think there's a DJ Augustine moment, is there?
Scott told me not to shit on your 1/10 of Jokic. I have 1/10 of that same Jokic.
Yes. Yes, Pat and I are fractional Top Shot bros with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we will.
Who the hell are you guys? How did you even find 10 people to go in? Like,
no, we didn't.
Brian's 8/10.
Brian's 8/10.
Don't laugh that hard.
I'm laughing because you called 4/5 8/10. So I don't know. I'm laughing because
buy your CryptoPunk sliver from my merch store. I wanted to do this game to wrap up. Very hypothetical for Gretch. Say the NFL marketplace launches, and I wanted to give like 3 options of how you might collect, because I think this represents almost 3 types of collectors. So let's say for the people in the chat who follow Top Shot, they'll know this. We'll call this a legendary pack drop. So $1,000 pack drop, and let's say the EV of this pack is like $3,500. What?
I'm just enjoying the chat. Really enjoying your PJ Tucker mess up, which is very Club Top Shot of you. You kind of had your Club Top Shot NBA moment.
I love the chat, but they love correcting me more than anything in the world. And
you literally got done saying that you know most of the league now because of Top Shot, and then you only got the first name right, which is 2 additions.
It is pretty incredible that this deal involved a PJ, a DJ, and another DJ. Anyways, let me get back to this hypothetical.
I'm sorry.
This is fucking fun. This is fun, guys. Sometimes you got to come on the show and actually have a segment. You can't just shoot the shit with no plan. You have to have an idea.
I remember you sending this game earlier, and I didn't even read it really. So
Gretch didn't read it. Then I clarified some of the rules. I was like, "Can we do this instead of this?" And you go, "Don't confuse Gretch."
Pat was like actuallying like the specifics of this like very extreme hypothetical. I was like, I hate this.
Let's play a game. Let's play a game. Here's the rule.
I'm reading that for the first time right now.
I love how our relationship is any content that we put out, none of us just consume it. It just didn't read it. Oh, did that draft last week? Did it? Gretch, I wrote the article about the draft we did. Didn't read it.
Dude,
it is my wife's birthday in my defense. This is like a couple hours.
Yeah, I heard you guys already had a nice drive. I thought you were good to go.
Yeah.
Let me do this damn hypothetical game. This stupid game. Legendary pack. You have $1,000 budget in this hypothetical. This pack costs $1,000, but the guys that own the moment have calculated the EV at $3,500. So you're guaranteed almost a 3.5x. The other is you get 1 premium moment. This is a rare moment. Only 299 of these made. Let's say maybe it could be AJ Brown. His base moment, his first moment on the site. Only 299 other people can have it. And then there's 3 other Series 1 moments. You can pick your players. You get a LaVisca, you get an AJ Brown, and these have a larger series. There's 1,000 of them, so not quite as scarce, but still very good things. What would be more intriguing to you? The mystery package where you know your EV is really good, getting your guy the 1 moment, and normally I would say in that pack there's probably 5 moments, or 3 of kind of handpicked your favorite players. Which one of those would be most attractive to you for the NFL version?
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Can I be Pat? ask a clarifying. What would be the move for NBA? Or are these things pretty equal in NBA?
Pat, go ahead.
Well, I don't. It fluctuates, right? And I actually misunderstood the game. I thought it was you get the NFL pack, or you can go to get your NBA. You can pick something out from the NBA. I thought it was kind of a cross-platform question, which is why I was sort of clarifying the rules. I don't know. I mean, I think the move in the NBA probably pretty clearly would be to get the legendary pack, right? I mean, I guess it's like if you can buy something that's worth more than the expected EV of the legendary pack, then you do that. But like for the cost right now, the clear plus EV move is to just get a pack. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
So I was leaning that way for NFL too. I think in what I mean, I don't know the NBA market a ton, but to me, and I don't watch a ton of NBA, there are some sweet highlights, but to me as a sport, the NBA, so many of the highlights are similar, right? You have dunks, you have assists, you have lay-ins. There's only so many things that guys can do on a basketball court. There's a lot, don't get me wrong, but there's a limit to the actual actions. There's either shots or dunks or passes. In football, you would have defensive touchdowns, you'd have returns on top of obviously passing touchdowns of varieties, deep bombs, short passes with broken tackles, and then all sorts of runs, whatever, sweeps, broken tackles, Derrick Henry type runs, speedsters. Those are more similar to like different types of dunks or whatever, right? But the way that I look at the NFL potential here is like the market would be broader because the game is more multidimensional, right? Like, and so I don't have a deep knowledge of the NBA, but I wouldn't really mind what I got. I wouldn't like feel like I need to just buy and hold an AJ Brown. I would want some options to buy and sell. I'd probably buy the legendary pack or whatever for that reason, and kind of have fun with the different types of football plays and things that you can collect, because I think there'd be some variety. There'd be more variety.
I'm surprised. I mean, that's exactly why I think you'd go with the pack, what you described. I thought I could maybe get you on the AJ Brown as kind of the sentimental.
I'd also buy a cheaper AJ Brown.
Yeah, you're working around my hypothetical here.
Yeah.
You're like, I'd take your pack and then I'd go buy it.
Yeah, exactly. I'd sell whatever one I didn't want so that I could buy something for similar price.
What would you do, Pete?
I think I would do the pack, just because it's fun and it's a mystery box and you're going to get good EV. I think what's interesting, about NFL is the longevity aspect is way more in doubt. There's some of these guys where we know their Hall of Fame resume. It's undisputed. It's already done. It's not changing for Steph. It's not changing. And obviously there's a couple of those guys in the NFL, but because of like the injury risk and like career ending injury risk, I think it adds a premium on the moment over like the player itself. Like if you think about the Odell Beckham one-handed catch, like Odell Beckham is not necessarily in vogue right now, but people are going to want that moment. Like it is a sick moment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think that's kind of an interesting thing. And like you were saying, Ben, there's so many other types of plays. I think that the specific play and moment is going to probably end up holding more weight just because there's so much turnover in the NFL.
But then I think that's a reason to just pick one of those moments that you absolutely love, get it at a low mint, and don't get the pack, which is what I would do. I would spend my bullet on picking out a premium moment and something like, could you imagine if you get like a low circulation of like the Minneapolis Miracle? You get Stephon Diggs, you get this iconic play.
Be insane.
Like, it'd be insane. And I'd rather lock that in at a low mint count than, risk getting a defensive player in a pack. Could you imagine, like, you get like Devin White? Like Devin White's really good, but that's who your top pack moment is. That's, like, I mean, we play fantasy football. We don't want defensive players in our packs.
That's a good point. Yeah.
They're going to have to do defensive players.
Guys like that are going to be worth less than they are as players, right?
Yeah.
Because they're not fantasy football assets, basically.
Yeah.
And we're not going to really want to own them. Like, that's like, I don't really know that much about the defensive side. And that's not like where I'm spending my time, like getting super into the nitty gritty of these guys. And that's not where my passion is for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But can you guys imagine a Tyler Bass field goal?
Man, can you imagine in the kicker series? We don't really have a comp for like kickers in NBA, so it's like hard to know what that would be.
That'd be rough. Get a legendary kicker.
Denny's just like streaming on some. Like,
everyone would be his Fred VanVleet's, or you just send him your legendary Tyler Bass moments.
Denny would just make a killing on people gifting kickers.
They'd all just 10x.
Oh my
It would be
god,
so good.
The rookie moment stuff too, like first game moment stuff. Like there's a couple cool moments from Visca's first game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got the answer.
And it's kind of I guess I'm trying to think if that comparison holds up, like where it's self-selecting, like the most promising rookies are going to get playing time in their first NFL game and have a chance to make a pretty decent play. I think
for the most part,
that rookie stuff could be fun.
The rookie stuff's really interesting. If they go back and do last season, it'll be really interesting, especially with like Herbert. I imagine Herbert's going to be super, super popular.
Well, isn't he the hottest guy in the physical card market?
I don't know that market that well, but that wouldn't surprise me because it's all quarterbacks and rookies, right?
Yeah. And so he kind of checks both those boxes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I'm sure this is not the last time we have talked about NFL NFTs. It was good to be back in the saddle.
It was.
Happy birthday to Emmanuel Sanders and Ben Gretch's wife.
In that order.
Gretch. I should let people know that when we first hopped on the call, Gretch's camera was pointed like directly at his crotch.
I was adjusting and knocked it down.
I was like, wow, Gretch is coming back from vacation real hot. It's like, you want me on this show? Well, this is what you're going to get. And then he had like put his hand in his pants and he was like doing a Muppet show and where it made it seem like. All right.
That part didn't happen.
Ben, do you think you'll be really into the NFL NFTs?
I think so. What you just said at the end, I thought was interesting. That the physical card market is quarterbacks and rookies. I guess I hadn't considered how many more players there are, and your points about the defense. There's so many more players. It's so much easier for star potential in the NBA. We just know that broadly, and marketability and all those things. Kind of might suck. It might suck that you can't really get into. The LaVisca might not have a market. You might have to have the AJ Brown as like the emerging young receiver that you buy into, somebody out like on that tier already.
You might need to have him be like a top 20 pick.
Like if I can't buy a Myles Gaskin card when I know that he's gonna break out after week 1, getting all the snap share and nobody's picking up in their fantasy leagues, and then watch him 10x because nobody cares about Myles Gaskin, then I'm going to cry.
Yeah. Yep. And I think too, I mean, the whole reason the rookie market is so inflated is because the studs and the Hall of Famers are very expensive, and it's very alluring to be like, what if I can buy low on a guy who could become a Hall of Famer? And it's an easier entry point. And obviously right out of the gate, the NFL studs, the Mahomes, or the Herberts, they're going to be so expensive. So you're going to want to be like, okay, let's get Visca. He's cheaper and we love him. Maybe he could become this great wide receiver. But it actually, similar to fantasy and having skin in the game, it really makes you question, wait, how much do I actually believe in this player? Do I think he has this kind of potential trajectory?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of it though. Like, last year, I would have bought, if this existed, I was all over AJ Brown. I couldn't stop talking about it. I would have bought him in multiple places, different types of AJ Browns. I was very invested in him in Dynasty and then in redraft as well. So I was thinking of it from a fantasy slant, like I'm already doing this analysis on who's the guy that's going to, explode. And especially in season, it would be really fun to buy and sell, when you think guys could go on runs based on schedule or whatever, you'd be a lot of different reasons, but you'd need a pretty active a pretty active marketplace, like you guys were talking about earlier, and a willingness to buy and sell non-quarterbacks, right?
Yeah. That's going to be the real key to this working, I think.
Yeah. All right, guys. Enjoyed hanging out with you. We'll be back next Wednesday. Maybe we'll hop in one of our first drafts. I'm starting to come out of my Top Shot haze here. I'm getting a little excited. I see that McLaurin 6.2 dynasty. I'm like, maybe I should do a startup. So we'll start to get some dynasty takes flowing here. I'm sure getting into draft season. Maybe we can demonetize ourselves again by watching some more highlights. Looking forward to that.
Yeah. Only if they're tennis highlights.
Only if they're tennis. Yeah. Danny Medvedev stealing money from our families. All right, guys. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We will see you next week. Deuces.